Hey there. My book, Hunting Quincy, came out last weekend. And so this weekend I thought I would do a short reading from the book. Little backstory. Quincy, in Hunting Quincy, is actually two people. Quincey Morris and Quincey Harker. Quincey Morris, along with Jonathan Harker, were the two men who killed Dracula at the end of the book. Spoiler alert. And also after that ending, there's a little postscript by Jonathan Harker, and he mentions that he and Mina now have a son whom they have named Quincy. So that's who the Quinceys are. The book opens on May 3rd and is the announcement that Mina Harker has died. They are at her funeral, or they have attended her funeral. So yeah, shortly after her funeral, Quincey Harker gets a letter from Arthur Holmwood, aka Lord Godalming, who was also in the original Dracula as part of the posse that went after Dracula. Uncle Arthur, as he is called in the book, has something to tell Quincey Harker. And Quincey Harker isn't quite prepared for the truth of what's going on here. So that's what the reading is about. I think it starts on page 20 of the paperback. And I hope you'll enjoy this and that you like it enough to want to learn more. And of course, there will be a link to the book in the doobly-doo down below. Okay, let's get on to Hunting Quincy. From Hunting Quincy, Chapter 2, the 22nd of May, 1926, Saturday. A warm, pleasant day spent mostly out of doors. We went riding in the morning. The horses, quite pleased to be out and about, were eager and giddy, wanting to gallop at full speed. We let them as much as possible. The fresh air and sunshine did us all a world of good. Later, we took the car into the town, and after a light lunch at the King's Arms pub on the High Street, decided to stroll along the River Way, would provide a better atmosphere to speak more discreetly. I wonder, Uncle Arthur began as we reached the walking path along the river's embankment, if you might be interested in taking the papers with you for deeper study. I have no further use of them. Taken aback by the offer, I came to an abrupt halt and grew speechless. Unless, he went on, you'd rather they remain with me, away from prying eyes, as it were. I do want to read them again, now that the initial shock of their contents is beginning to settle. But as I said earlier, eventually I will see to their destruction. I fear Arthur would not consent to parting with them if he knew my end plan. I'd love to look them over more, I told him. Are you sure you can part with them? My dear boy, I've wanted to get rid of them since the moment they came into my possession. But I was avowed to keep them safe and sound, as was your mother's wish, in the event should something happen. Should something happen? He cleared his throat. One never knows about such things, does one? He said. You think, I studied his face more fully, this Count Dracula, this vampire, still lives? That it may return? He shook his head and pointed the foot of his cane onward. I had to hurry to catch up with him. No. Dracula is dead, as are the women he held as brides. Most certainly, we saw to that. Then what do you mean? You think there is only one? He asked. Uncle, this is the 20th century. Sure you can't believe time means nothing to these creatures, my dear man. Nothing. Don't you think we thought the same exact thing back then? We too modern, too civilized to believe in such backward superstitions. Vampires, bah! Lunacy! And yet, he took a breath, slowing his pace, and yet you have read what happened. Yes, but nothing. You still do not fully believe. I understand. You weren't there, but I was. I know. I know it was just as real as the bricks in this garden wall. People, my Lucy, our dear friend Mr. Morris, innocent children died because of these monsters. I saw it. I know it to be true. My apologies, Uncle. Truly, I meant no disrespect. I know. You think it is all a load of bullocks, nightmares brought on by the use of too much opium or laudanum, perhaps. I assured him no such thought had entered my mind. Beneath the large willow, we found a bench that faced the quietly flowing way. Occasionally, despite the relative narrowness of the river at that point, a small boat would pass by carrying goods and people to and fro. Elizabeth likes it here, I noted. He chuckled, and John, too, I should say. But not Lucy. No, he paused. Your sister does love the city life, doesn't she? She does, I agreed, and perfectly content to stay where she is. The world beyond London and Hampstead is of little interest to her. And what of you, good man? You're still young. You have no wife or children to keep you at home. Elizabeth and John are old enough to not need much tending to. He planted the tip of his cane between his spread feet and sat with both hands clasped over the large round silver orb on top. His gaze settled on the flowing water rather than at me. I'd not mind traveling, I admitted. My service during the war was all done in England, and I count my blessings for that. It's a big world out there, more than any one person could ever see in their lifetime. So much we'll never explore and understand. His chin lifted slightly as he frowned a bit. I envy those who can adventure without a care in the world. You've traveled a great deal, Uncle. He shook his head. No, not since He stopped. I've not been out of the country in decades, he settled on. A long silence settled between us. I imagined back to that fateful trip to the wilds of Transylvania and a race against time. I, too, thought of the story I'd read, a voyage born of death and desperation. Could it really all be true? If not, why would so many reasonable people work together to create such a wild tale? If they'd meant to capitalize on it, surely they could have made it into a manuscript and had it published. Instead, the papers had sat in a box all the years, out of sight, but by no means out of mind. I told Uncle Arthur I would like to take them with me. I promised to lock them away securely. He seemed greatly relieved. What can you tell me of Mr. Morris? Anything more than what was written? I asked. The man has always been of great interest to me. After all, I am his namesake, and now that I know this peculiar shared secret, I craved even more information. Arthur frowned a bit. No, not a lot. As you know, he was a Texan from a small town west of Houston. Here his frown bloomed into a smile. Jack told me what little I know beyond that. Quincey Morris, he told me, could be quite outspoken and ambitious, but was honest to his core and always the perfect gentleman. He'd added to the family fortune by accidentally striking oil at a young age, and had done quite a lot of traveling, mainly to South America. But he'd ventured north into the Canadian wilderness and what was now the American territory of Alaska. He had a nose for oil, and he had said that he'd not be surprised if there was, as he put it, I'd reckon to bet there's a boatload of it up under that snow and ice. He spoke with a long, easy accent that could be low and soothing one moment, then loud and commanding the next, and Lucy had found his use of American slang just about the funniest thing in the world. Quincey and Dr. Seward had known each other several years prior to the events in the transcribed papers, having met in a London New Year's Eve party in 1880, all of them young and just starting out in the world. Mr. Morris had recently struck it rich and was using some of his newfound wealth to explore the wonders of the world. It was during those early days of prosperity and venture that he encountered his first blood-drinking creature, Uncle Arthur said. But only a bat, I said. Nothing like that what you all wrote about. It was enough to convince him of the possibility, he added. The creature took so much blood from his poor horse he was forced to put it down. Does that sound like only a bat to you? Have you already forgotten the Count's transformation into a large bat? I admitted it seemed extreme, and that I knew very little about bats in general. Are you saying you believe there are more of these vampires in South America? He shook his head. I don't know what I'm saying, he confessed. It's a big world, and though most would like to believe we've conquered it all, seen it all, know it all, I do not for a minute believe that myself. We thought we knew it all almost 30 years ago. None of us had a clue. He drew in a deep, settling breath, eyes focused on the distant shore. I pondered the river and the movement of yet another quaint barge going by, and was reminded of the contrast between it and the busy Thames. Uncle Jack's old sanatorium still stood and operated near that mighty river, though he no longer worked there himself. It and Carfax, one of the Count's former properties, were some 60 miles away. I wish to speak to Dr. Seward, but hesitate to tell Uncle of my desire. I do not wish to push Uncle Jack to recall things that would only bring him more pain than he already suffers, but if more can be gleaned from the speaking to him, perhaps I must. What of Carfax? Does it still stand? He actually smiled. No, he said, the place was a shambles then and torn down 20-some years ago, when all efforts to contact its owner were unanswered for reasons you and I are both well aware of. The bank took it over for taxes and sold it to the city, who then sold all the stone to the masonry business further north. Chelmsford, I think it was. They took as much of the stone as could be salvaged and built a church, a fitting end. And Mr. Morris, I said quietly, was returned to the States. His expression tightened. His eyes never moved from looking at the gentle ripples of the way. Yes, we brought him back with us, he eventually revealed, in one of the Count's own boxes. Once back to civilization, we had him properly tended to and returned to the States. Her mother got that final letter back several months later, thanking us for his safe return. I don't believe there were any further communications after that. Had there been, Mina surely would have sent those on to me to keep with all the rest. My sisters went through Mother's saved correspondence quite thoroughly. Had anything like that been found, they would have shown me. Perhaps there's nothing then, he offered, probably for the best. With those words from him, I feel less guilty for wishing to destroy the documents he is entrusting to me. I was tempted in that moment to suggest we do it together, that night, to put an end to all once and for all. But I held my tongue. No, I must be honest with myself here. I wish to read them again, with greater care and understanding. When I am satisfied, I will personally touch the match to them. We returned to Uncle's estate shortly after and spent our time idly speaking of other matters over a game of chess after dinner. I will leave here tomorrow, but will not be going home directly. I must visit my sister and see how she is getting on, and pay a visit to Uncle Jack.